I am Dr. Don Slack. I'm an emergency medicine physician. I work in Mount Vernon. I'm the E87. So, something more than 20 years ago, the last time I left these halls before I can remember. But yeah, my first exposure to medicine was here. In addition to being an emergency medicine physician, I actually got into medicine because I wanted to be a climbing buck. And I thought being an ER doctor would be a nice way to pay for that. Turns out I actually like being a doctor much to be a climbing buck. But it sort of worked out. I have control over my schedule and time to do stuff in the back end. In addition to emergency medicine, for a while, about 10 years, I was an emergency medical services director. Since 1998, I've been the medical director or medical advisor, what it's called now, for North Cascades National Park, which is something I enjoy spending a few days every year doing. Been down Grand Canyon a couple times, but sort of shifted over rafting as my knees have gotten older. Did more rafting and climbing these days, but I'll do some of that. I was involved as a search and rescue volunteer before I went to medical school, and I continue to be involved in the same organization that I joined first in 1976. I'll be out there with them tomorrow, actually, on a search. The things that I like about wilderness medicine for me are, first of all, figuring out how to do the best you can with very limited resources. And I like having the confidence when I'm out there to know that if something goes wrong, I'm probably going to know what to do about it better than anybody else in the party, and probably if there's something that can be done, I'm going to be aware of that. One of the things that I say that it's interesting, that one of the values of having me around on a party is that, I know when it's okay to really make somebody uncomfortable to get the work that you got to do done. A lot of times we unfortunately work without any drugs. So there is that. It's like, yeah, I know when it's okay. You got to scream for a minute and do better. That's sort of just a beginning spiel on me.
I'll listen.
Okay.
I'm Justin. I wear a few hats. I am an active duty officer in the Army, so I'm junior faculty at Madigan Army Medical Center. My first year, I'm also the ultrasound fellow down there at Madigan. I trained at Madigan in emergency medicine. Finished up my residency in July. I went to school at a DO school in Missouri that was 100% chosen because I could do my third and fourth year back in Utah, which is where I did undergrad. I worked as a medic for the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Department rescue team pretty much throughout my entire 20s, and then made sure I could move back there for third and fourth year med school so I could keep working with the team, which probably wasn't the best thing for my grades, but was definitely the best thing for my sanity. Also in that time period, I was a climbing ranger for the National Park Service up on Rainier, which I love dearly. Still count some of my best friends from that experience. And so my whole evolution into, I guess, my big boy job in medicine kind of came from wilderness medicine. I had a great EMS director that was like, hey, you should go to medical school. And I said, I ski 100 days a year, I climb 100 days a year, I have a really good life right now. Like, that sounds like a lot of work, and Rich was nice enough to be like, okay, I'll pay for your applications for 5 schools, and then I got in. Here we are. But then also, I cut my hair and my beard off to join the Army, which to my wife's dismay, I didn't like both of those things. Mainly because the Army for me was the easiest way to do wilderness medicine as a career. So we're the medical control for Mount Rainier National Park. I get to travel over the U.S. teaching wilderness medicine and ultrasound and that kind of stuff. So it's all kind of the same mesh. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
promise I'm still like a total hippie at heart, even though my paycheck comes from Uncle Sam. Right? Occasionally we like shoot guns and stuff. What's doing it, Tris?
Sweet. So I'm Christian Dean. I don't know how extensive y'all went, but I do family medicine with Swedish. I've been here right under a year now. Practiced in Jacksonville 3.5 years before that after residency, and kind of do a lot of I don't know, wide or broad scope family medicine and lots of procedures in my day-to-day. I don't do OB anymore. And then in Jackson, I did a lot of urgent care and a lot of inpatient medicine too. So I like to try to keep the kind of skill set broad, but love the continuity. Otherwise, I would have done emergency medicine. And then from kind of wilderness medicine standpoint, I guess kind of first got into it doing a wilderness first responder back in high school, and then that's just kind of expanded on that scope since then as I kind of accrued more and more other degrees and whatnot from them. Right now, kind of the most I don't know, like continuity that I have from a wilderness medicine standpoint is probably the ski patrol. I've helped out, like at Jackson, I helped out with ski patrol a little bit from kind of just like giving lectures type of component. And then the last year I was in Jackson, I like jumped through the hoops to actually be a patroller. And then that's what I'm also doing at Crystal now. So I'll do my second season out there as a patroller, not as a physician, which is kind of fun because you get to do a lot of the more, I don't know if you'd say more fun, but you get to be involved in patient care from like the whole entire experience.
Throwing bombs is way more fun than being in the clinic.
What else?
So thank you guys, and let's go ahead and open this up for any questions, and if there are none, me and Doug can bail you guys out with some of our own.
Not afraid of awkward silence. That's so long.
So emergency medicine, family medicine. Do you guys know anybody else who taken other pathways to, be medical director or involved in wilderness activities?
For sure. I think those are the two most common, definitely. But if you go to any of the kind of like wilderness medicine conferences where like everybody kind of gathers, it's literally everything. I'd say anesthesia is another big one.
Internal medicine.
Yeah.
Some critical care guys. In fact, I feel like the big godfathers in wilderness medicine in the U.S. are some like home critical care guys.
What about surgery? Is there much of a showing from surgeons?
When they leave the OR.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of wondering about is like the lifestyle component of surgery, if that lends itself to being able to spend any of your career out in the wilderness.
I think with any specialty, it's kind of what you want to put into it. I mean, you have one end of the spectrum. I don't know. I think I've mentioned that y'all know Emily Johnston. So in ER Doc, but in Jason, y'all know that like her role in life was like playing in the mountains, and then she was like, oh, by the way, I want to go to medical school. So it's kind of like she's one end of the spectrum, and then you have the other end of kind of whatever specialty you're in. Maybe you take some courses that gives you some scope of improvisation with taking care of bleeding or making splints in the backcountry, and then you're just like that piece of your little party, whether you're backcountry skiing or hiking or rock climbing or whatever.
I do recall like being called in at Schweitzer. They just did an overhead page for a doctor, and I knew they were eager to have somebody there with a punctured spleen. And the other doctor looked at me, what do you do? I said, we're just medicine. I'm a gastroenterologist. Bye.
So we have a couple of local examples as well. So the long-time head of ski patrol at Snoqualmie is an interventional radiologist. And then there's also a guy who's a neurologist by trade. And then the new medical director for San Juan County County as a trauma surgeon as well. So a lot of different specialties, even right here in Washington as well.
Yeah, I think everyone has their place. I have a friend who's EMR, who's coming in rehab. You know, and he's great. I love his lectures because majority of what you see outside is musculoskeletal injuries. You know, it's not big trauma cases and this kind of stuff. And he definitely has a seat. And, our medical director back in Salt Lake County for the sheriff department was an infectious disease guy. You know, and while that might not have been the most applicable for like a SWAT team and a mountain rescue team, right? For most of the wilderness medicine stuff, I mean, on river trips, he was fantastic, right? So as far as making sure none of us got sick and we actually cleaned our water and that kind of stuff. So there's a spot for everyone. As far as lifestyle wise, just figure out what specialty makes you happy. I thought I was going to be a surgeon until I did like the hospital for 9 days and then switched to here. So,
Yeah, and I think most of the field care that happens in wilderness medicine is pretty straightforward and simple. So, you know, it's not like we need to have a real sophisticated understanding of procedures and that sort of thing to be able to do a lot of good teaching and a lot of good direction.
I would say like the best example of that. Did you mention military stuff?
I do, yeah.
Okay. I mean, the best example of that is if y'all are in clinical rotations, when you get into them, if you're at a big place like you did, or when I did some stuff at Denver Health, you're like in there with special forces medics, and it's like they're more comfortable than like a fourth-year trauma surgeon kind of thing. It's pretty wild.
There were definitely, I think I was probably better for like my last few years as a medic than I definitely was until I graduated residency in a lot of instances, right? Maybe that was like a false sense of security, right? Which is, I think, a lot of it is. So.
As you grew to new places, how have you introduced yourself? Like, you know, be like, oh, my doctor can I help? Or like, how do you make those connections?
Sorry, when you're like specifically doing ski patrols?
So when you want to jump into something.
How do you make a connection? I just wrote a letter to the North Cascades National Park when I grew up in Skagit County, and when I came back with a job as an emergency medicine doctor, I just wrote them a letter and said, hey, I'm in the community and got some experience and I'd love to work with you. And then I went out on patrol with them for a while, you know, one thing to make the introduction and the other thing to make the first impression.
I think most places are pretty hungry for help and hungry for knowledge. And so if you're there and willing to be kind of a subject matter expert, which is what you are as a physician, which you will be as a physician, and you're willing to help with that, but also stay humble and recognize that, you know, doctors crash Cessnas for a reason, right? That's because they tend to think that they can do everything because they're a physician. That's just not true. So if you kind of stay humble about it, but also come in with like, hey, I know these things and I can teach you that, lots of folks are very happy to have you share that knowledge. As far as from a teaching standpoint, as far as a doing standpoint, you definitely have to earn your chops like everyone else. That's probably going to be starting off as a new guy.
Like I have a frustrating story about that. The first like month I moved to Jackson after residency, Teton County Search and Rescue is world class, and I was like, oh yes, I want to be a part of this kind of thing. So they unfortunately had just enrolled a class of like 30 or 35 people, and I roll into town. Yes, I'm a physician. Yes, I could provide a lot of experience from a medical standpoint, but they just like flat out didn't need me. So it was like I can just get in line kind of thing. And that was a frustrating thing, but it was great because then kind of direct that energy somewhere else and get on ski patrol kind of thing.
That's how a lot of these teams are. I mean, I spent 8 years on the Salt Lake County team. I was a chief medical officer. I was a squad leader in 120 rescues a year. Really busy. I left for med school and I came back after med school and after having been a climbing ranger on Rainier, and I had to start over at square one. Like I started with the next pro class. So that's how all of those jobs are. Just kind of expect to start at the bottom of the food chain if you actually want to do something. And you learn a lot.
I'm curious a little bit more about the distinction between being a medical director of any organization versus like working on grounds like patrolman and how it can help in either situation, and like how you make that turn out. Maybe it was more beneficial for the organization.
And just one quick thing, could you guys repeat your questions just so it can be heard on the, because you know, people also have to win on it.
Yeah, sure. So, to paraphrase the question, I guess, how do you determine whether you're more helpful as a responder or as a knowledge-based teacher? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and also, you know, if you like one over the other, you know, how do you balance that? What?
Sure. Well, I find that I'm spending more time teaching and directing than responding. For one thing, because I don't like slowing people down. That's just a fact of life at 57 plus. I'm not the climber that I was 30 years ago. In fact, I'm not much of a climber anymore. And so that's part of it. The other part of it is, as a director, a lot of the stuff that I do is scheduled. So I can plan ahead of time to say, okay, I'm going to be spending this week at the park teaching, and that time's off work. And then, you know, we still get the calls. I still love taking the calls, but I can do that while I'm at work. So that's a lot of it. I think teaching and supporting it's really important. There was a time, probably about 10 years ago, when I really still liked getting out in the field, where I realized on a particular mission that had a lot of things going on, that probably I was more valuable with my Rolodex at home or Rolodex in the front country, making phone calls and orchestrating things than I was out there sweating around in the brush, although that meant I didn't get to take the helicopter ride that the other guy got to take. But it was, well, this is probably where I ought to be. Teaching is it's an intellectual challenge, you know, not all that hard sometimes, but you want to engage people and you want to be succinct and, you know, working, typically teaching wilderness responders, you're teaching people that they're a little less sophisticated medically than what I'm used to dealing with on an everyday basis. So I'm not talking to another doctor, I'm talking to a BLS responder. And so tailoring my discussion and my direction to that is interesting and satisfying to me. And those people, they just love getting information from a doctor too. There's lots of wilderness medical teaching that goes on out there. And I think that the teaching that I offer has the advantage of being like, well, this is what I've been doing for a living for 30 years now. And, you know, it's not all in the wilderness. In fact, most of it's not, but it's still, I've still got a lot of patient care experience.
I've struggled with this because I miss mountain rescue every single day. I love being a ear doc. I love my job. I love every single day I've gone to shift, even in like the deep dark depths of residency. Like I loved every single ER shift. Clinic and all that other stuff, probably not. But right, like every day I'm in the ER, I loved it. But I still like I miss mountain rescue. I miss being out there doing it. But to use kind of a military terminology, it's beneficial to look at yourself as a force multiplier. I can teach 40 folks in a over class and have those people out there doing good stuff, and still hopefully do a little bit on the side. And there are a few roles I think for physicians outside, but for the most part, whenever I have had the chance to go back out and work or spend a few weeks with teams, I don't do anything that much different now than I did when I was an EMT basic. Right, like 12 years ago. The knowledge is probably there, and my assessment skills are probably there, and I know what I get away with now, but what I actually do is not much different. The teaching side of things, it's not only beneficial, but I think makes you a better physician, a better provider. I've had some of the best questions from Wolfer students, from EMT basic students that just take you completely back to basics and have changed my practice, but also how you teach. You know, we were teaching like an anaphylaxis lecture, and I had guys was like, "What's a steroid? How's it work?" Wow, I wish I was back in first year, but probably explain this a lot better.
I don't know, I just give them.
Yeah, exactly. It works. Just do it. I don't know. But it is hard because everyone wants to do the fun stuff, and it is a lot more fun to be hanging off the end of a hoist or climbing to someone than it is to be taking a base station call. You know, you seem like you still have your fingers.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, still out there. I don't do anything from kind of the medical direction standpoint, and I think that's something that I've like sort of teased with, but at the same time, there's big time commitment, it's policy, it's developing protocols, it's refining those things, it's getting involved with administration of whatever organization you're with, whether it's ski patrol or national park or county, and that is definitely something that maybe is not fun, maybe it's not exciting, and there are people that like to do that kind of stuff. I just haven't done that yet. But I definitely still, kind of, I don't know if you were totally getting at the teaching aspect, but, I think that's a part of what we do as physicians, what y'all do as second years with, people, with less knowledge than you, whether, whatever the kind of degree or participation level is, and that's only going to continue, and that's something that's tremendously rewarding in or out of the clinic or hospital. Whether it's on a car ride or a plane or on the chairlift or in some more formal capacity, in one of these roles.
And I would say that as a director, I still make an effort to really be well versed on what people are faced with out there and what people look like out there. When I was an EMS director, I routinely went on calls. And likewise, I'll be spending tomorrow, I'm just going to be a regular run searcher tomorrow, walking around in the rain. I guess it's going to be sunny. But there's not going to be any glory there. It's not going to be all that much fun. I'm going to go out and get tired and back. And it's important to understand what people I'm working with experience. I think I understand it pretty well, but it's always good to be reminded.
That being said, there's a lot of options for you to work as a physician in non-traditional roles, right? We have docs that work on icebreakers in the North Arctic, right? The only medical provider on that ship, there is no help coming for them. That's pretty cool. That's definitely like wilderness and austere medicine. They don't have any help. We have folks that work, the whole winter down in Antarctica, not to mention all of our normal military roles. There are jobs out there. The sky's kind of the limit, and your creativity is what gets you there and kind of seeking those spots out. All of those people, though, however, have done their time and other stuff and are really good physicians who just kind of found their niche.
Actually, on the topic of boats, are any of you familiar with being the physician on the other end of the romantic, like, arrangement, like medical person in charge on a boat?
No, I've heard of it, but I've not been there.
It sounds like the ultimate toughest.
So I can tell you just not myself personally, my wife, we're talking about like being the like telemed and being the other person on the phone from like a cruise ship or whatever, the boat side of things. She was the person stateside who took all the calls from those folks, and most of them have a pretty robust telemedicine arrangement. It's actually through a company here in Seattle called RMI. That's pretty good. They have a lot of physician jobs. Those traditionally aren't very high-paying jobs, but they have some pretty cool stuff on most of the big boats.
Yeah, so my question kind of comes on the tail end of Dr. Slack's comments about better understanding what people are facing out there. And it's on the flip side of that coin is better understanding what the protocols are that other teams are employing and other groups are using in situations. I think a lot about expeditionary medicine, just for my own personal interests. But I think what I'm curious about is how do you think you can set yourself up to best be able to go out and do expedition medicine, or to, as you're saying, actually work in, or basically to try to get a little bit of time away from the clinic and do something for part of the year that might require wilderness skills and at the intersection of medicine. Does that make sense?
I think, just in practical terms, as somebody that's been in practice for a while, the hardest thing about that really is figuring out a job where it's okay for you to leave for a month to 6 weeks.
100%.
In emergency medicine, I kind of have it pretty nice because if I take the last 2 weeks of 1 month and the first 2 weeks of another month, I can squeeze out for a month and not make too many people too mad. But I pay for it at each end. Otherwise, that's a good question. I think study and get to know people that are doing that. There are a lot of considerations there too, because if you're really talking about doing expeditionary medicine, then you're going to be taking stuff across international borders that might get the customs folks really interested and curious.
Sounds like there's personal experience.
What's that?
Sounds like personal experience.
A little bit, but it's just the kind of thing that I've been warned about too. And I think, probably start out the way you start out with any expedition, I guess, is you get to know people and maybe do trips. And then as you get to know more people, the trips get bigger. That makes sense. It's been a long time since I did anything like that besides the Grand Canyon trip or two and then friends, basically.
There's you're talking about how to pretty much get into expeditionary medicine, or similar. It's the folks I know who've done it. I think Scott McIntosh back at the University of Utah is I see the stereotype of this. He's really kind of carving the job for himself. The reason that they get to go on expeditions or climbers call him for help is because they see him as part of their community. Whatever community that that expedition is part of, right? So all the AMGA and International Certified Mountain Guides in Salt Lake, they all know Scott. They all trust him, both from a climbing standpoint. They see him as part of their community. He's always there to help out. He's always there to take the phone calls and kind of assist them. But also, he's a good climber. I mean, he off the couch Everest. It's a pretty fit dude, and so I think it's just important to be part of whatever community. My military community that I'm part of now isn't all that different from the climbing community I grew up in. The guys that I work with see me, will judge me based on not only like me as a physician, but like how well I fit into kind of their archetype. At no part of my job do I need to put rounds on a target, right? That is not really part of my job. But if I can't do that well, they're going to get whatever. Right? Just like, if you can't walk up and climb something, well, they're kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So you just to, I guess, sort of complete that way, you guys, it sounds like what you're saying is that the community and the culture credentials are a little bit more important than perhaps you obviously need to have your degree and be practicing and working effectively, but those community credentials are just as important.
I would say they are as equally, they get you in the door so you can then prove yourself as a physician. You do a lot of things.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. Of all the people that I know that do expedition medicine and whatever you want to categorize that as, they didn't just do that straight out of medical school, straight out of residency. It has taken, most of these people that are kind of famous or have that reputation of doing that. They've been out of residency for 10 years at a minimum, I would imagine. They're part of some community. They've done some significant achievement on their own and kind of use that to build conversation. So I think that other piece to that is just like be steadfast. Like if you want this as like something that you're going to do down the road, like me, like I still want to progress in this endeavor until I have a mortgage right now. That's a negative in this whole world. Having a wife and a spouse and kids and all these things are like negatives in terms of freedom and time off. And then the other thing is the job piece. Like for Swedish to give me 5 weeks to Nepal soon, 5 weeks just like, yeah, sure, this is your passion, like go for it. We support that kind of thing. So one, kind of ask those things when you interview first. Two, set the precedent that like this is what you do, this is who you are. So that in the future, like it's a non-negotiable, piece of the conversation.
I'm guessing that you're probably not snow plowing down the blues if you're not in control.
Don't do that.
So it's like if you want to, the docs I know in Utah who work at Snowbird or on patrol or pick your resort, they're on patrol because they can ski well, that kind of stuff, right? So and they're good doctors. So it's kind of both sides of that. Speaking from the career standpoint, there's, I am definitely like, I was raised most of my childhood in Westphalia. My parents are about as granola as it gets, right? They probably never saw me join the military. The military for me is a huge part of that because when I get out in 2024, I'll have dad, I can do this kind of stuff, right? I recognize that that's a huge sacrifice for myself and my wife right now. Hopefully something down the line. So there's always pluses and minuses, and pretty much everyone does their time in some fashion, right, to be able to get to do this stuff.
Kind of in terms of, y'all are med school now, there's plenty of residencies that are in New York City, and then there's also some that are in Salt Lake City. So like use geography to your advantage too, in terms of proximity to like whatever you're interested in, whether it's like you want to be like the doc that's cruising around on some of the America's Cup boats or, kind of whatever it is.
See if you can break Anna's record for having the most ski days in a emergency medicine residency.
What's her record?
Unofficially, I think it was like 200 days, but in a whole residency.
That would still be lives in North Dakota, like,
Oh, yeah.
stays down the driveway.
Yeah, ski's pretty hard. So
Says Anna Condino, right?
yeah, she still skis pretty hard. I hope she's watching.
What about for people who meet you and I'm pretty excited, being inspired about like some of the stuff they're hearing? What can people do currently while they're in medical school if they're maybe pursuing some of these interests or kind of setting them up, for future opportunities that apply to this?
I think one of the things, like if you've never taken a wilderness first responder, or there's something like a wilderness upgrade for medical professionals, or you can do advanced wilderness life support. These are all like less than a week courses. You can do them in an urban environment, you can go do them in Lander, you can go do them in Rocky Mountain National Park, wherever. Like do one of those things, early, and then bug companies, and there's no shortage of companies that offer all of these courses. Yes, there's Knowles and WMI, but there's all sorts of smaller companies that do this kind of stuff. There's even like go do it in Spanish in Ecuador or wherever type of thing. But using that like teaching component too, one, it's going to hone your skills, and then two, it just like makes you stand out that much more compared to other 20,000 medical students that have taken a Woodford, which I think is important in this whole some of these concepts of like, oh, I want to go be a doc, with the HRA or whatever it is. Like to some extent, it's a numbers game. So like being a part of the community, I think, helping that concept, and just perpetually like show that you're interested.
So, yeah, one of the last things I did before I graduated was the Farm Service Control of Denali. I had some time off as a fourth year student. It happened to be during their season. I wrote them a letter and I got a trip to Denali. All I had to do was get my plane ticket up there. volunteer stuff if it's possible. And, you know, if you have time out, there are some interested electives out there. If you're interested in this stuff and aren't already involved with the Wilderness Medical Society, I encourage you to be involved with them.
It's not important things, clearly. mainly you guys. No, I would second that. I kind of grew up with the Wilderness Medical Society conferences. My dad was a part of them, and it's the coolest position you'll ever meet in medicine. I actually thought all doctors were as cool as the folks at the WMS, and that's not true. But there are some really cool electives. I'll plug. There's one in Utah that I started like years and years ago, and is still going strong. But it's in essence 2 weeks of high-end rescue training and then 2 weeks of advanced wilderness life support course. But the 2 weeks you spend in Salt Lake, it's all taught by guys from the mountain rescue team there, and you're out in the mountains every day. And the next 2 weeks are down in Moab, which is pretty rad. And it's during ski season, which is also pretty cool. So that's a great fourth-year elective in April. If you just put yourself out there as much as possible, right? I have friends who've done rotations in like the base clinic in Yosemite, right? Or who've talked their way onto a catamaran, or have done a million other things, and all they can do is say no. So if you just put yourself out there and start, call every ski patrol clinic you can get your hands on. It's really the folks who put the legwork in and try to get out there as much as possible, get those experiences, and start building that community. The Wilderness Medical Society, if you say, hey, I will run your registration desk, and bet you can probably talk them into letting you come to a conference, right? There's always.
I know that's true.
Yeah. There's always a hotel room floor to sleep on, right? All of us are really impressed by the med students I see who show up at these things, right? If you can show up at a conference and without a hotel room reservation, be able to take care of yourself and run the registration desk and pay your way, that's someone I trust you to attend. You can talk your way through this. So I would trust you in a foreign country. But the more people you meet, the more questions you ask, and the more classes you go to, the better part of that community you'll be.
I mean, I think you already partially answered this with the Wilderness Medical Society. Are there conferences or trainings that are worth attending?
Sure there are. Yeah, my thought is that Wilderness Medical Society, I think, is the biggest organization. To me, it's also the most academic. I've been to a couple of the other groups that put on these big conferences, and to me, the Wilderness Medical Society is it's just not just regurgitated, summer, winter conference. Like every conference is, some nuance of a variety, and then also they push, I don't know if y'all have read any of the Wilderness Medical Society clinical practice guidelines, but they have maybe 6 or so out, and they're every so often coming out with more. So continuously pushing the barrier in terms of kind of what the evidence-based medicine is out there in this environment.
I think there are good conferences. I just think you got to look and think carefully. And if it's somebody that makes a logo that looks like the Wilderness Medical Society and sounds like the Wilderness Medical Society, but isn't the Wilderness Medical Society, and they've been doing the same conference every year for the last 15 years, that might not be the best one.
The other thing, Google, Mountain Medicine Society of pick a country. They exist, and they put on a conference. And, if you speak another language, go do that. Something to get your bubble a little bigger.
North Medical Society and a bunch of other organizations, they have research grants out, so if you have any research inclinations, that's a really nice way to get involved in the community. If you show up at any of these meetings, if they're writing practice guidelines and you figure out when those committee meetings are and just show up, they will be more than happy to have a med student looking up research or looking up reviews for them and writing this kind of stuff. As now as attending, which is terrifying. You're right, that's very easy. I love it when a med student comes up to me and says, can I help you with this academic project? yes, please. That's another great way to just meet folks and get involved. One of the most impressive things that I've seen was a bunch of students back at the University of Utah who a couple of years ago said, hey, we really want to be involved in wilderness medicine as a whole and as a community. And so they all took a WFR class, right, which is Wilderness First Responder. And then they just said, we're going to start teaching WFR classes. And they all had some experience. They were ski patrollers or volunteer EMTs and this kind of stuff. And so they made their own nonprofit and started teaching WFR classes. And that nonprofit now, is amazingly popular. I think they teach 30 classes a year. It's mainly med student run, this kind of stuff, right? And all those folks, they got a hell of a wilderness medicine education and they got really involved in the community and are well known for it. So. Also, every one of them got a great residency because they said, hey, in med school, I started a business. So,
Dr. Slack, what does it look like to be the medical director of a national park? What kinds of things do you do for that?
So what I do is I review the Park Service at this point has national pre-hospital protocols, the EMS protocol. And so I have to make sure that I'm familiar with those. And most of the time, the providers that are working for the park are going to be following those protocols. We have a few exceptions, like in the North Cascades, the Park Service protocols allow for people to do things with what they call communications failure, which is you can't get the base hospital. You're supposed to call the base hospital before you do this, and if you can't, then it's okay to do it. I just said, don't call me, just do it. If you think you should do that, any of that stuff is just, we have a memorandum that says it's all authorized. Every year I teach EMT refresher. I sort of talk to them about the equipment that they're using and make sure that, things like the BLS guys have some kind of training in giving iron epinephrine and placing airways. I take phone calls whenever they want to call me about whatever they want to call me about. Obviously, that's usually patient care, and most of the time it's pretty simple and straightforward. It's like, well, literally, like a couple of years ago, this person got hit by a rock 4 hours ago. They've been doing CPR for 4 hours. When I got on scene, can we stop? Like, yeah, you can probably stop. They're dead 4 hours ago. And I try to get out there and spend some time with them. So, this year I think I just had one day up there actually just on patrol, which didn't feel like interesting, but I'm still up there hanging out. I know that the more time I spend with them, the more time I'll get to spend. But, because years ago I spent more time up in the park and had more opportunities also.
Have you had to use your wilderness medicine background or training outside of work or just like out with your friends? What does that look like?
So I know all of you have treating a blister or something like that on the trail. Nothing significant with any trips with buddies. I'd say probably my most interesting thing was a seizure patient on an airplane cruising across the Atlantic kind of thing. And that's an interesting thing that, like, at the same time, I hope all of you have to experience, but also I hope you don't. But it's a learning experience. I think kind of jumping through your wilderness medicine experiences, whatever those are, like give you any sort of additional benefit of just like thinking outside the box a little bit more. And that's kind of one of the concepts that in any of these courses they kind of like pound on you or try to make you think about a different way you would do something. Which I think is another good reason to go do these courses, because it's people that aren't all stuck in medical school, people that come from all sorts of different backgrounds and people think differently, so it gets you outside a little bit. which I think is another beautiful thing about, being part of search and rescue or these kinds of groups, that everybody's a physician. They all come from all sorts of different backgrounds, so it's fun from that standpoint. But I don't know, like the only, like hanging an IV bag in the plane is an interesting thing. And what I did was just shove it in the overhead bin. I don't know, not too excited.
A few things here and there. We had I was with Bandage and a climber decked. Somehow it was okay. It's always amazing to me. Climbers bounce sometimes, and like in the climbing gym, and a dude decked because he didn't finish his knot, or some guy cut his dog. So it feels, sometimes it just honestly feels a lot like work. It's kind of the same. It honestly, once you've done medicine for a while, it just feels like the same thing. I always say, I never say I'm a physician, unless people start asking or someone else comes up, come a volunteer firefighter. It's like, well, I'm here, doc. Kind of full rank, but usually I just say, hey, I know first aid. No. So set expectations low. It's the secret to life. It's actually the secret to happy patients, the secret to happy marriage, the secret to set expectations real low.
I have been on a party with a dislocated shoulder. Unfortunately, I hadn't been to medical school yet, so didn't know what to do with the dislocated shoulder, so I got hacked out. And 2 trips down the Grand Canyon, I handed out 1 Zofran and given, I think I placed a couple sutures. There was a river trip once where it was a popular commercial run, and there were a bunch of us stopped. I could see something was going on, and I watched, and there was some old guy sitting up, sweating, looking pretty short of breath, and a bunch of people standing around him looking concerned. And I watched for a while. I really try not to get involved if it doesn't look like really things aren't being handled. So I finally did go over it. So, you guys okay? So there really wasn't much to do with this guy. It was like, well, we're on the side of a river. I don't have a defibrillator or anything like that. Yeah, he looks kind of sick. Let's get him down to the road and have an ambulance waiting when we get there. And that's pretty much what happened. The ambulance from a very rural place in Oregon, so I did also have to explain to them a little bit how the journey works. And then we got him into the ambulance, and I felt a little bad about just sending him off on a long car ride, but I really wanted to.
And then done much in the back of an empty ambulance.
At that point, he was with responders. So,
I'll probably learn more responding to things outside of like a professional mountain rescue standpoint than I have in that kind of professional role. Especially, I've been really lucky to work with some great teams. I mean, Salt Lake, we literally had everything that I wanted. We had a 7-pound titanium glitter in our own helicopter as well, like Teton, right? It's like, I never heard anything. As opposed to like my wife got ACE at 17,000 feet in Peru, right? I realized real quick that you can make up a lot of stuff outside. You can't make your own deck spend. Right? So that taught me, like, if I'm going to carry anything, I'm carrying meds, because I can't make meds. I can make a lot of things. So kind of from that standpoint, it's good to live it. And the more you're just outside, the more that stuff's just going to happen. So, we have this whole thing where we figured out how to rip apart an EpiPen and make push dose vasopressors out of a single EpiPen, right? A single EpiPen has enough epinephrine in it to actually make like a full drip bag of like an epi drip and a bunch of push dose pressors. The whole reason that came to be was because of like a river trip where someone got anaphylaxis, and we're like, all right, well, I gave you the one EpiPen I have. Let's see what we can do from here. So.
Yeah, and I'm always teaching people like, no. Don't put that needle, don't throw that needle away. You might need it again on the same patient in a half hour. And don't waste your extra drugs, because you're not just going down to the store to get stuff. So, interesting resource limited stuff. I may be the only person in the room who has, when we think about improvisation, who's actually supervised a live load human litter extraction, short hauling with a helicopter that was equipped to haul cedar blocks. But we had to get this guy down. The weather was coming far up on a glacier. So we used what we had. And I didn't feel good about it. But yeah, you're in for a hell of a ride, guy. I'm glad I don't have to do that again. But I think it was the right choice at the time.
It sounds like the three of you guys, much like many of us, love the outside spaces. These are important parts of your life, and important, things that fuel you, sort of fuel your soul. I think about that, and I think about future medicine, and I understand the kind of concerns that a career can sometimes swallow up all of these personal interests. I'm curious for you guys if each of you can just point to one decision that you made that helped create that space for you with your careers, or one decision maybe that you wish you had made, something like that.
Emergency medicine.
I take solace in AI is not in the backcountry yet.
With the caveat that my dad was a family med doc, and spent a ton of time outside. I don't know. Intern year, I guess to put it mildly, sucked a lot, right? Especially it was fourth year med school, was pretty easy. I skied a lot, I climbed a lot, I did like climbing expeditions to Peru, it was great. Right? And then intern year starts, and it was when I decided to live my entire life based around knowing that getting outside makes me happy, was when everything turned around. So that definitely meant a lot of. I studied in tents or in the back, the back of the truck that we were sleeping in or whatnot. But there are ways you can choose to very intentionally live your entire life around what makes you happy and what gives you joy and what keeps you going. And that's probably why I stayed so happy in residency after that, right? But you recognize that you're gonna have to say no to a lot of other stuff, right? I was not going to the bar after shift, right? I was getting in my car after shift and driving to a trailhead where I would sit in the back of my truck and study and then get to go climb the next day, and that was the sacrifice. So you're gonna pick 10 things, cross off 9 of them. The one thing you have left is what you get, and whatever that intention is, you can make that. So I have friends who climb 514 license, right? Like whatever you want to do, you can do it. You just have to figure out when it's worth it to you and what you have to sacrifice. Someone fresh out is what I'm saying.
I feel like, I don't know how best to answer this. I feel like I was lucky in a couple of different points in this whole journey. When I was kind of towards the end of residency, I was really trying to decide if I wanted to do a wilderness medicine fellowship or do a sports medicine fellowship. And I just kind of intellectually thought that the sports medicine would be a little limiting. At the time, there wasn't any wilderness medicine fellowship that was currently matriculating or taking in anybody but emergency medicine. And what I did was I just, wrote, a big old, here's why you deserve me kind of deal. And I sent it to every single program. And not every, but most of them replied to me with hey, this is great. We really value this. But, we're not doing this right now. But 3 of them offered to interview me. 2 of them did. And, I didn't end up getting into a spot. Funding was an issue. But, I went around that by having a discussion with one of them of hey, I'll work in every single one of these is a big hospital system. So hey, I'll go work in one of your urgent cares or work in the family medicine clinic, yada, yada, yada. So now, there's multiple family medicine, pediatric, PM&R, drawing sources to, having a formal, academic, it's non-ACGME accredited, but it's still, with a great, whatever university system, wilderness medicine fellowship to get you more training, this kind of thing. So I think that whole kind of like conversation was a positive deal. And in that, I sort of did the same thing with mountain towns. I didn't really know where I wanted to live, but I knew it wasn't Dallas, which is where I did residency. So I was fortunate to kind of, be lucky with timing when Jackson was hiring people, and went up there, and I was like, why would I not want to live here, kind of thing. You're just you're up there with several UW grads that are up there doing sweet things. I mean, one of the ER docs there, Will Smith. I mean, he's another director of the National Park system. He's another director for like some Army pre-hospital EMS situation. And then, there's a couple other kind of like super intense, like very credentialed in whatever their passion is, people up there. So that was kind of like my fellowship in just being surrounded by people passionate in things that I also enjoy, which I think was a cool situation. So I think that was, sort of like a, luck or happenstance, an awesome, I don't know if I'd say turning point, because I've like sort of been interested in this, since high school. I didn't really know where it would go. Seattle's okay.
California. So the best skiers, the best climbers, the best hikers, everyone's really passionate about what they do. And the best physicians who are carving out a niche for themselves are really passionate about what they do. But they also bring a lot to the table, and they bring something that's unique to the table, right? I recognize that if I wanted to make a career out of this, especially department niche in the Army, that I was going to have to find something. So I teach how to use an ultrasound outside. That is my little tidbit that I add to the community. So find something that you're passionate about, that you love to do, but that also adds value, and then people will seek you out to be that. And you can start finding that now and start working on it. The year before I started med school, I was working over here. I talked someone out of an ultrasound machine, and I carried it darn thing to the summit and did a bunch of ultrasounds. And just why? Because it was cool. But if you find the stuff you're passionate about, and that shows just like it shows when people climb and people mountain bike. So,
What were you ultrasound?
eyes. We were doing optic nerve sheath diameter. Back before that was proven to actually not work for haste. So it's cool.
It contributed to a body of knowledge, though.
Exactly. Yeah, and had fun. It was a blast. To walk up to folks on the summit grade and be like, "Oh,
So in that endeavor, research may be boring. I may not be boring wherever you are on that spectrum, but it's also something that makes you unique. In medical school, I sort of attempted to create a wilderness medicine related altitude sickness study type of thing with one of my buddies from college who just happened to be a professor at the University of Alaska Anchorage. And it took us a couple rounds going through the IRB up there when you're messing with people at altitude where there's no resources. But we got it dialed in, and then I was the silly person taking 130 pounds of batteries up to 14,000 feet. Because you never know when your solar is
you kind of have to decide if you want your passion to actually pay you, okay, or if you want it to just let you, pay for you to do the cool things that you want. February, I'm working on my mountain guide search right now, but I'm teaching an ice climbing course that also offers CME for physicians, right? So kind of a nice little thing. In Colorado, there's still spots open, right? But I'm not making any money off this thing, right? But it's letting me go to Colorado for a week to climb the ski, right? So there's kind of a dichotomy there where you're going to get paid to do this, or you're just going to have the chance to do the things you love for free. You don't have someone else pay for it. So therefore you work less.
And it doesn't need to be that drastic. family medicine. I, definitely do more than survive on this world. I think that's the typical schedule of emergency medicine. It's a little more flexible. So kind of picking your passions, and you'll make it. Especially when somebody is going to wipe out all student loans.
I can tell you as an Army physician, I made pennies on the dollar for every other year I got here, right? Most OR and ER nurses here at UW make considerably more money than I do. But and my wife's in school. Doesn't matter. Like, we're still comfortable. It's just what you spend your money on. So if we can make it work here, like I can't even imagine real attending money at this point.
Money's only good for so much. I had to unload a shift tomorrow, so I could go do this thing that I'm gonna do, because I want to be involved in volunteer work, doing Star Wars. And even though it's not going to be very interesting or glorious, I'm still going to be out there with some cool people. And it's going to be nice. It's going to be worth it to be out of the yard that day.
For typical SAR volunteering, do you have to have technical alpine climbing experience or knowledge to get involved in that?
Well, it really depends on the team and where you're at, If you wanted to just be a regular old SAR volunteer in Sketchy County where I'm at, no. If you want to do mountain rescue work, then yeah, they're going to say, what's your climbing credentials look like? Want to go to Teton County or Farming County, you're going to have to bring pretty sharp.
Also, just to build on that, I would say that you can find, the team will find a good use for you even if you don't have a certain skill set there. So you shouldn't, don't let that deter you guys if you're thinking about that you can't, climb 513 and 12,000 feet.
And actually, Miles and maybe Nick, do you guys have any advice for how a medical student can juggle? Like Miles, I know you get out there all the time and are involved with search and rescue. And to me, I can't imagine actually meaningfully incorporating that into my life, how it's structured right now. How do you do that?
Well, I haven't actually graduated from university.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm asking. Is you're a student?
I think it goes back to kind of what you guys are articulating already. That if it's something you're super interested in, you just kind of find a way and have that list of things. You scratch off a bunch of them. You just got to focus on ones that you're most interested and passionate in. So I think there's a lot of opportunities. I think I was, had the benefit of having done some of this prior to medical school, and so for me, it's easier to just maintain things rather than having to start the onboarding process and go through requisites to get up to speed. That being said, for people who are not yet involved in stuff and you're interested, there are people through our interest group who kind of laid the foundation a little bit, or still on other people's shoulders already. So definitely reach out to us in the interest group, and hopefully, we can put you in contact with people we know, or maybe some of the physicians here tonight have some other ideas as well. But there are options out there that you could juggle while you're doing all the other demanding work.
Can I add on to that? So I'm in a PhD right now, like MDs, like in the distant past as a teacher. But like it's the same kind of idea. Like I'm working 12-hour days. Like so what I found is that I just go and do my thing. Like, I'm a long distance mostly rural cyclist, and I've trained as a woofer. And every woofer thing I've done has been like watching somebody have an accident and going up and being like, hey, I'm the first responder, help. And then like rental taking up boats, and they're like, hey, we injure ourselves all the time. Can you take care of us? And, yeah, let's stick your slashed up foot in the water and then feed you again. Just like finding the things that you enjoy doing and go do them and bring it back.
So what do you take when you ride?
Again.
What do you take from the first aid world that you?
So when I'm on a boat, I take mostly like concentrated stuff, and then usually like a samplet. mostly concussions on boats, interestingly. Just like smacking each other in the balls by accident. On bikes, I have like cuts and scrapes stuff, but then I also like obviously not because I'm traumatized, but I have a tourniquet just in case. And like most of the injuries I see on a bike are actually head injuries. And everybody can wear helmets, which is nice. So like make it bigger or smaller based on what I'm doing. Because I don't want to carry a bunch of stuff on the ride.
Yeah.
Whatever fits in the little.
Any particularly memorable medical encounters out in the wilderness that you can regale us with?
What, as far as like professional wilderness medicine, the most frustrating thing is being with someone that you know you could probably fix in the hospital and not be able to fix it outside. We had a guy who took about a 200-foot fall on a climbing route outside of Salt Lake called Brooklyn Belt Holes, which is a really ominous name for a route. The reason he fell was because the whole route's like 5'11" to the last pitch, which is 5'0", literally really, really easy. So he just didn't put in any pro, ran the road about 100 feet, slipped on some gravel, and took it off with this thing, right? So he was roped, he had a helmet, but he took a 200-foot fall right on the leg. And for me, it was memorable from like a really frustrating standpoint because he was sort of conscious but alive when we got there. But rescues take a lot of time. By the time we got down, he had herniated and died. So to like be on a lower and watch someone herniate was a really, really frustrating experience. And to think, I could have done this, I could have done this, I could have done this, and in reality, like you did no more. And I think that's the reality of wilderness medicine. Is a lot of times, especially wilderness medicine as a physician, there's a lot of stuff you're gonna be like, yeah, I could hold this guy in my trauma bay. Not doing that now, right? Hanging off the side of a cliff, waiting for this 600-foot lower in a helicopter. But it spurs the thoughts, you know. Because of that, I started carrying 23% saline with me and stuff, right? And so, how much, I don't know, I haven't used it, so I don't know if it works. We use it in the trauma bay all the time. I'll put, are on the neurocritical and RV, 20%, but so stuff like that. From a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint, watching my wife get ACE at high altitude in Peru, she's a much, much stronger person than I am. She runs a self-supported ultra. She refuses to do races or take a hand up from anyone. But having to be just the two of us and having to make that evacuation decision and then to treat not only a friend but a loved one, that was much harder than any patient encounter that I've had. Almost as hard as getting her to let me carry her stuff out from base camp, right? Despite her ataxia. So it's coming to the realization that if you do this, not in a professional sense, you get all this training. At some point, you're probably going to be treating someone who's close to you, and a good friend, and a climbing partner, or something like that. Kind of mentally preparing yourself for it. It can be really difficult. So that's the two memorable ones for me that kind of changed my outlook.
I think that's an important thing too, whether it's in or out of a clinic or hospital setting. This whole debriefing, making sure you're ready before you see the next patient, kind of thing. It's definitely important. All of this taking care of others definitely is taxing. It's important. I don't know. You continue to play outside so you can rejuvenate. Or however you need to do that.
So the thing that affected me the most in my career is kind of interesting. After 3 years in Oakland as an emergency medicine resident, lots of time in emergency medicine and doing rescue work. You guys remember the OSO slide? You guys heard of that? I responded to that from my home in Anacortes, and the tone went out for something upriver. So I went up beyond Darrington on the Skagit River, and then came back around and came in from the east side. And just the utter desolation of that with really nothing to be done, because half an hour after it happened, or 45 minutes after it happened, all the patients were gone. And we spent the afternoon sort of holding our fire, trying to wanting to get out there and do something, but nothing to do except for, I did get out there a little bit and get around in the mud. You might have been flying over it, I don't know. But the mud was amazing, but what I'm getting to is as we were back out there, I was one of the few people that was allowed back out onto the scene. Some citizens told us that they heard a dog in the house that had been demolished. And we found the house, and you could hear the dog inside this house. And trapped in there. This house that was just, it was no longer, it didn't even look like a house anymore. It looked like, somebody had taken a roof and picked it up 4 stories and dropped it. And we, a couple firefighters and me, spent a couple hours with hand tools trying to get into where this dog was, and I'm realizing it's like, this is not what I'm trained to do. This is not what I'm equipped to do. I'm crawling around here in a structure. This is kind of stupid, but I still want to see what I can do and not get killed. So we spent a couple hours at it. We got in a few more resources, but they eventually. And after this whole day of being keyed up, they just said, you gotta go. And because I was operating as a squad, there wasn't any question. It's like, okay, I gotta leave. I'm gonna leave this dog. It sounds okay. So I had a couple of really shitty days after that. Just feeling like, how could I have done more? And what else could I have done? How could I just walk away from it and leave this creature to die there? And then the end result is that actually the family went back and got their dog out. So a couple days later, I actually got to see the video of this dog coming out of this house in one piece. Apparently, no worse than there. But it was profoundly effective in a way that was totally unexpected. There's lots of other stuff. I saw a guy lose his hand on Denali. Courage. But that all just sort of, it wasn't good.
Whether it's in medicine or the wilderness or your passions or your love or whatever it is like that, trauma stays with you, and it's stupid to not accept that, right? And not recognize what that does to humans. You had mentioned something earlier on where part of being a physician is knowing that, like, hey, I'm going to make you hurt really bad, but then it's going to fix you. It's not a normal thing for a human to hurt another human and be okay with it. And that's one of the things that I recognize the trauma that comes with my job is it's not a normal thing to crack open someone's chest and go sew one on their heart. But that's something that we do in the trauma thing. It's not a normal thing to see someone to pick up a dead body at the base of a crag where you climb that all the time. And there's a real macho culture in a lot of wilderness medicine to ignore that. But I think it's important to recognize that. There's spots I don't climb anymore. There's spots on Rainier I just don't go. And whatever that is for you, right? And that's the same in medicine. Everyone has to find a way to deal with it. Hopefully it's not drinking. I don't think that's unique to emergency medicine. I don't think that's unique to surgery. I think every aspect of medicine has that in some way. And the problem with wilderness medicine is now you deal with it in a spot that previously probably brought you a lot of great joy. And now there's a mix of, hey, I love being outside, but hey, it makes me remember these things. So sometimes it's too much for folks. You gotta walk away, and that's okay.
So Teton County Search and Rescue actually has a podcast. They put out a new, kind of 30-ish minute podcast every month or so about some other past missions, and they'll bring people back and interview. both the rescuers and the patients or patient's family, that kind of thing. It's it's not a medical podcast by any means, but they talk about ins and outs of some of the medical components of rescue, but then also a lot of the social dynamics, which definitely permeates into what you do in the hospital too.
What's the name of that project, Backcountry Zero?
It is, yeah.
It is.
One of the things that I do is I kind of tend, just based on my experience, to gravitate towards family in situations where sometimes I feel like that's my best, sort of the best and highest use of my skills, is to be with the family of somebody who's missing, with the family of somebody who's recovering. A few years ago, I was on a mission for a guy who had fallen, and the weather was horrible, and it was getting dark, and we basically decided that the fall was non-survivable, and the weather was awful, and we should just back off and go away. And it wasn't until that we got back to the city, basically, to start planning the next day, that I learned that the guy who had fallen was somebody that I planned with, somebody that I knew. And that night I went down and drove it in, of course, and told his wife. And knocked on the door.
There's a lasting effect too. There's a lasting effect on people who are your patients outside. I kind of use a personal example. My wife got dropped rock climbing almost 10 years ago now. She got dropped 65 feet. She was in Airvac out with a broken pelvis and a broken spine and a trauma ICU stay. And to watch her struggle with the psychological complexities of coming back to climbing, and really coming back to everything else is really hard. But I can guarantee, like, she's a paramedic and now she's in PA school, and it makes her a much better paramedic because of that, because of those acceptances. But then there's the kind of the sad reality of that. My team back in Salt Lake, we had a guy who we had hoisted out. He was a pretty good skier. He had crashed on kind of like a spring couloir, like steep spring snow. He caught an edge, went into a rock wall, had a pretty serious head injury, had a C-spine fracture. We hoisted him out. It was actually, and I feel guilty because it was one of the coolest rescues I've ever done. Like, they hoisted us into this thing with like ice tools out, crampons in hand. Got to rig the whole thing, like hoist him off this angle thing. High five, dude survived. But he never felt like he was right again. He never played in the mountains at that level again. And I guess this year, he went up to that same couloir and killed himself. Right? That was a really hard blow to be like, I saved this dude. It was my ass hanging off into this helicopter that rigged him out of there, but didn't really save him. So there's a lasting effect for that, and the people that you take care of in the hospital and outside the hospital, and that's an important consideration. That's sometimes a bitter pill to swallow. For that, not to be too Debbie Downer. Right. But I think it's stuff that we don't talk about enough in wilderness medicine. I think the last conference, the last Pacific Northwest Medicine conference, I think there was actually a great talk on like psychological first aid. And that's something where if you really want to kind of find something to talk about, I mean, that's it. I wish there were more psychiatrists doing this stuff. Yeah, you go to the psych. It's a huge deal. And it's not talked about enough. You want to make a difference? There you go. There's your niche.
And on that note, like, Seattle Mountain Rescues had a lot of like kind of coming to moments regarding this very topic of long season rescue, just kind of a cumulative effect of all these bits of trauma. And there's a woman in Colorado, Rocky Mountain Rescue Team, who I think she's a multi-psychiatrist to some degree, but she's been giving some podcasts.
She published her PhD thesis on the topic.
There we go.
Have you read this book?
I've read the book, but we have a series of these interviews with her with the Mountain Rescue Team that are now public if people are interested
heroic efforts. And what she did is she, as a PhD psychology student, at Boulder, joined Rocky Mountain Rescue without telling them that this was like her project. Her thesis was like, in essence, like Jane Goodall with the gorillas. And became part of this team and observed it and took notes and became part of that community. And then, like, with their permission, afterwards published this. It is a fantastic read to talk about this. And she struggled from just like talking about it. She struggled with it just because she is now a part of this. I sure as hell couldn't publish a book, talking to some of my best friends. But Heroic Efforts, it's a great book. And it goes for like any high risk volunteer kind of occupation. That is volunteer firefighters or whatever you have. So
And I think some of that, just to bounce off of that, some of the like global health type of programs, I think that's kind of, you run into some of the similar issues with wilderness medicine, whether it's resources and access, or some of the like psychological issues. You can never do enough. You never did enough concepts, which probably as soon as you'll start seeing patients more on your own, that's going to slowly be a conversation.
every day in Harvard UVR.
That podcast that I was referencing on Teton County Search and Rescue, it's called The Fine Line. So Backcountry 0, The Fine Line.
Thank you guys for those stories and that wisdom. Any last questions?
Do you have any questions online?
So, at least from my standpoint, any of y'all can get in touch with me, email, cell phone, whatever. I don't care. And you'll probably find that with kind of anybody that's in wilderness medicine, whatever kind of capacity. It's a good group.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks.